We cannot afford to be without adequate insurance. Hello, this is Palmer the coach, and welcome to the Coaching Minute. Today we are reviewing the 7th chapter of the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, and the chapter is entitled The Walls of Babylon. This chapter is the story told as a metaphor for us and how we ought to look at our investments and the protection for our family. In this chapter, the author tells of a story of how the king of Babylon was out in a campaign to expand his territory, and he was there with his best of armies. So the city was left with something like the team B or C in terms of the armies to guard it. And some of the enemies of Babylon then knew that the king was not present. So the Assyrians decided this was the time to come and attack Babylon, break down its walls, and conquer the city. When they came down, they went round the city, and the people got very alarmed because they knew surely there's an attack here, and the best of our soldiers are out on a campaign with the king. Finally, the Assyrians went around the city and they settled on a corner where they decided they were going to break into the wall and find their way into the city and burn it down and plunder it and do all the things that armies do in places they conquer. When the inhabitants heard this, the small army that was left gathered around the place of the attack, and they started repulsing the enemy. Right on top of the wall, they could see the enemy as they tried to break in with every tool and battering rams on the gates. And of course, the attacking armies were also firing the arrows and wounding soldiers, and some were dying, others bleeding and going on the way down. And the book tells of this man who was standing at a place where he could see what was happening on the battlefront. And the inhabitants of the city then kept on coming to ask him, hey, what's happening there? What do you see? Do we have a chance of survival? And he always answered with his assurance that the walls of Babylon were well built and strong enough to withstand any attack. And he comforted the wife, the child, the person with old parents, that don't worry, go and look after your people, because the walls of Babylon will keep us safe and secure at all times. And that really is the whole message of that chapter, that in our own lives, we ought to know that there will come tough times. We will be assailed by loss of employment. We will be finally retired and without the income we are so used to. We might find diseases coming to attack us for ourselves or other members of the family, and other tragedies to the community that we want to be part of. And what this author is telling us is, while we can, we should protect ourselves with such a wall of safe investments and other products, that we shouldn't worry when these things attack us. And that is the message of today's chapter. And I just want to conclude it by reading the concluding paragraphs of that chapter. And it says, the walls of Babylon were an outstanding example of man's need and desire for protection. This desire is inherent in the human race. It is just as strong today as it ever was, but we have developed broader and better plans to accomplish the same purpose. In this day, behind the impregnable walls of insurance, savings accounts, and dependable investments, we can guard ourselves against the unexpected tragedies that may enter any door and seat themselves before any fireside. And that is the advice we should be able to take from our author today, that we cannot be without adequate protection. And what we've been talking throughout the review of the other chapters is what always makes sure then that we have a pot of wealth and good products that advisors should help us to put together, so that we are always safe with our loved ones. So that is the coaching minute for today. As always, reach out for a helping hand, and if you can, hold someone else's too. Thank you.